I think I'm on. Hey, y'all. Your girl was hustling. Let me make sure I don't have the usual ratchetness going where I have a window open with my own live playing in the background, child. That is what I don't want. That is what we don't want. Hello, 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 family. I hope y'all can hear me and see me. It's looking like everything is working as it should. I think it is. Well, my sweetie pie is here. Hello. Let me scoot this up since I have my watermark a little bit lower tonight. Or you know what I'll do? We'll do this. We'll put comment. No, I don't like how that looks. We'll put it here. Hello. Hello. Hi, Flow with Mo. You know, I miss y'all too. I'm realizing I haven't seen y'all on YouTube since January. It gets kind of confusing in my creative brain because I'm a pretty organized person. So I feel like I'm creating content all the time, and that's because I am. It's just if you're not on my Patreon or my locals, then you ain't seeing it. Actually, that segues quite nicely to the way I'm going to start this off, which is to just to get the shameless plugs out of Z-Way. Um, I guess happy Easter / Resurrection Day to those of y'all who are observing that. But into the shameless plugs. First off, I have been more active on my IG. So here's just a little something something of what I've been up to over there. This is me legit just scrolling. I've been doing some gym posts, just showing, as I always like to say, not showing you what to do, but showing you what I do. So this was actually a reel of my first day back after I was in Trinidad for pretty much all of February. I went down there for Carnival. So I've been posting my workouts, about one workout per week since getting back from Trini. This was a total body day. And, I even posted today just kind of a March dump, as the kids call it, where I just kind of posted, various crap that happened throughout the month on my Instagram. So that's this post that I'm showing you now that went up today. So yeah, it's been cool. It's just kind of showing you guys where my life is at because it's Instagram. I think for a long time I was a stories only type of gal because something about the rigid perfection that you tend to see on Instagram made me really uneasy. You know, people always say Instagram is just the highlight reel, and Instagram very much is not real life. So for the most part, when I've been on Instagram, I've been a stories person because I just like the immediacy of it. I like that it's here today, gone today. But I'm trying to not worry so much about having super polished everything for Instagram and just posting as I feel like it. And I probably posted more in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 3 years on my actual feed. So give me a follow over there if you're curious, if you miss my gym content on YouTube, because it ain't coming back. It ain't coming back to YouTube, so don't ask. It does poorly for me. It hurts my channel. Yeah. So there's that. And then also, as y'all know, I have Patreon, I have locals. The content is more or less the same on both. It is just whichever interface you prefer. On locals, I'm doing exclusive videos and live streams. We have movie nights. I've been doing movie reviews called See, Stream, or Skip, where I will review one or more movies. I prefer to do a roundup so I can kind of have a bit of variety. And in the last one I did, spoiler alert, it was to see, as in see it in theaters. It's that good. See, Stream, or Skip is what I'm calling that series. I'm having so much fun doing those as well. I'm doing movies. I'm doing videos where I'm just dragging people like Nicki Minaj or whoever else needs to be drug on a particular day. Gwyneth Paltrow was a recent one. I did a video talking about going to see Three Stacks. I saw Andre 3000 legit walk by my car yesterday when I was driving down the street, which was a little bit weird. But he was crossing the street with his lady. If you know who she is, you know who she is. But I also saw her when I went to see him perform New Blue Sun live, which is not what happened at all. And I talk more about that in the video, which is an exclusive to my locals and my Patreon. So if you saw my community post the other day, you know that there are a few hours left where I don't know how to do coupon codes on Patreon. I'm not sure that they have that feature. But if you want to try out locals just to see what's doing over there, because we have lots of stuff. Like I said, we have a book club. Yesterday we met to talk about The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. The book we read before that was a novel by Jane Allen called Black Women Must Die Exhausted. So for the next few hours, I believe it ends at midnight Eastern today, March 31st. The coupon is still good for a few more hours. The code is FLUTE over on locals, and that will get you half off your first month. So check us out over there. We have a good time. I love that. I love our communities. And I will explain how imperative having locals, having Patreon has become for me later on after we get through the top stories of the night. And forgive this Ecamm Live logo, you guys. I'm on the free version because a hoe is trying to budget. Yes, Audra. Something about the perfection. It's giving Beyonce, honestly. We'll talk about her too, but the rigidly curated meticulousness of Instagram stifled me to the point of never wanting to post to my grid. And I'm letting that go. Like, if that means people unfollow because, a hair is out of place, why would you follow someone named Nappy Headed Jojoba in the first place if that was a problem for you? So, I mean, things are going to be crunchy sometimes. Okay, so once again, if you want to check me out on my pay-gated platforms, you get lots of stuff. But I understand that sometimes people need to know what they get before they actually test it out. So I think that was a pretty thorough rundown of the kinds of stuff that we do over there. And if you want to, get a little diskizzy on that first month on locals, the code is FLUTE. And you can check out my community posts for more info, as well as the D box under this live for the links. Diddy. Now, Netflix, I had decided I was going to do this live days ago, and then time kept getting away from me. I've had so many things going on in my real life, and I was going to call it Diddy Do It, only to find out that Netflix beat me to the punch with that. So I wasn't able to call this live Diddy Do It. But woo Chile, it was all good just a week ago because people had pretty much forgotten about Cassie. Remember? That was only 4 months ago, but the public has the memory of an amoeba. So I don't think most people were thinking about Cassie. Most people weren't thinking about Diddy. I talked about that in real time as it was going on and how, this was not a surprise to many of us. The whole thing with Cassie, that is. There has always been, well, for one thing, the streets are always talking. And then two, Diddy, for me, has always been someone who just gave me unease. I don't know what it is about him, but something about his eyes is just like, ooh, the vibe is not right. And that is not evidence. That is not proof. That is not anything. That was just a feeling. And we still don't know that much. But for those of you who, I don't know how you wouldn't have, but if you haven't heard, Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles, where I stay at, were raided on last Friday, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that, by Homeland Security, the feds. And this raid was giving Tony Montana, like this was serious. And usually when the feds are making their move, they've been watching a long time and the file be thick. They have a lot on you if they feel like it's time for them to strike. So that in and of itself, without us really knowing the details, are not good. We still don't know much except that this investigation has to do with XES trafficking. I'm going to have to speak in riddles because it's YouTube. I hate having to do it. Even in my edited videos, I've had to start editing out innocuous words or words that should be innocuous, but that's the reality that we are in. That's also something that we're going to get into later after the top stories, which I alluded to a moment ago about me having to pivot to really focusing all of my intentions and energies on other platforms. So Diddy is in hot water, and this past Monday, his alleged 25-year-old mule for contraband You're going to have to just stick with me on this because I'm afraid to say a lot of things. The man's name is Brendan Paul, and he was arrested with yayo and reefer at a Miami airport. Not Miami-Dade, not like the main airport. There seems to be some sort of rich people private airport with people who are flying PJs and whatnot, I would imagine. It's not a regular person airport in Miami. But this is where this guy was arrested. This same guy, before he was arrested on Monday of this week that just passed, he was named in a lawsuit that was just filed by Little Rod Jones against Puff. I'm old school. I still call him Puff. This Brendan Paul guy, he was named as Puff's plug in the lawsuit, allegedly. I'm going to say that throughout. So Lil Rod was alleging that this Brendan Paul guy would distribute drugs, firearms, all this for Puff, allegedly. This is what he's saying in the lawsuit. No idea if the firearms discussed are legal or not, but I mean, anyone who's around my age remembers in the 90s when J-Lo and Puff were together, remember that? And how there was a weapons charge after an award show of some kind. I can't remember the exact award show. And J-Lo headed for Z Hills. That was the last time we even saw her in the same room as Puff, because that was just a little bit too hot in the streets for her if he's getting gun charges and whatnot. But yeah, way back in the 90s. So this is not necessarily, surprising to a lot of us to hear about the firearms thing. As far as whether the firearms are legal or not, we do not know, but ain't no legal yayo. Ain't no legal MDMA. Ain't no legal ketamine. Ain't no legal shrooms, etc. And all of this and more is what Lil Rod Jones says he witnessed the plug, Brendan Paul, allegedly moving for Puffy. The lawsuit itself, by the way, that Jones is issuing is because he's alleging zest assault by Puffy, harassment, and he's alleging also that Puff ain't pay him for his work on the Love album. So there's lots going on. And as I said, Puff's homes in LA and Miami were raided in this zest trafficking investigation by Homeland Security. So yeah, as I said, if the feds are on you, that ain't good. That ain't good. There's not too many cases of people like getting out from under it when it's the feds. Like local rinky dink 12, like maybe not, but feds, ooh. And it was quite the raid. So more and more things are coming out. We're probably going to see more and more people stepping forward. We're seeing headlines like this. Daphne Joy, who is the mother to 50 Cent's son, and Young Miami allegedly received a monthly fee from Diddy to serve as his zest workers, according to court documents. By the way, I don't know what's going on with Diddy in this picture where he's in all black. Is he knock-kneed, or is this like, what's going on here? Yuck. I can't stand a knock-kneed man. It's just so off-putting. But Young Miami clapped back, and she's basically saying, y'all must be crazy. But it's funny to me that she is trying to act like everyone else is stupid for thinking that this sounds credible, that she was receiving some fee, because he never claimed her. And, that whole situation of them dating looked crazy. More to the point, her entire brand is based on basically being a zest worker. Like, that's low key the whole City Girls brand. Isn't that what y'all been talking about the whole time? So why is everyone else crazy now to think that you were getting a stipend for zest? That's your whole thing. Weird. Anyway, Anyway, this is very much going to be a wait and see, I think, with all this Puffy stuff, because we don't know, except for these raids, a lot about what has happened. Russell Simmons uh, is being or has been extradited as well. So it's interesting. You know, a lot of people were saying toward the end of 2023 that 2024 was going to be the year of exposure, you know, people getting exposed for things. And there's always the cadre of people, especially when it comes to Black men in positions of power, who don't want to believe anything sinister is possible simply because it's a Black man being railroaded. Like that's always the argument. I mean, sometimes that does happen. We've seen it happen plenty of times in history. And sometimes they did it. Sometimes they did it. With Puff, I am inclined to believe the allegations. I'm not going to say all of them because I feel like there's going to be many. But even just looking back at the Cassie situation and the swiftness, look at how quick he paid for that to go away. And he paid to get that out of the news cycle. To this day, I don't think anyone knows, at least like from the public, us regular plebes, I don't think any of us know how much he paid for that. But I'm guessing it's at least 100 million. That's just the number in my brain. That's the number in my brain. The chickens will come home to roost, Fairy. The chickens will come home to roost. Yeah. So we shall see. We shall see. Yeah. I just Woo Chile. Woo Chile. I really don't know what to make yet of this puffy stuff, but puffy stuff just sounds really silly, doesn't it? It doesn't sound as grave as the situation actually is. But I think you're saying that was the fastest payout you've ever seen. Yeah. That was real swift. That was real swift. But okay, y'all, did y'all have a nice Beyonce Friday? I agree, Stephanie. I agree. I feel like if anything, he's been playing in that gangsta life, but he ain't the gangsta. You know what I mean? I just don't think he's really about that. So he probably will be singing like a canary. Exactly, my sweetie pie. I don't understand dogging Black men in general, but powerful and rich Black men keep those secrets. Bill Cosby, anyone? I don't get the pick and choose. That's where I'm at. As if the rich and powerful are not the most depraved people on the planet. Not to say that there aren't depraved deviants who are broke. But when you have power and access, it's that old cliche, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when you're surrounded by yes men and you basically have a license to print money, you think you're going to be keeping it wholesome behind closed doors? If you have people signing NDAs on the regular, you're living funny. You're living funny. Perfect segue, Isabel. So Isabel, she's saying she's good on Country B. Sorry, y'all. Let's get into it. Now, uh, Texas Hold'em and 27 Carriages. Those two singles dropped in February. I was actually still in Trinidad because I remember listening to them when I was still at my dad's house. I was not hype. I made it through Texas Hold'em. I did one spin of that, and 27 Carriages, I bailed out maybe a third of the way through. Didn't make it through. And I was just like, uh-oh, because I'm not a country fan in the first place. Like, I'm from Queens. You know, it's not going to be my thing. And that's just it. You know, never has been, never will be. I'm not a country fan. So my hope was that maybe I can enjoy Beyonce's take on country because I knew that it wasn't going to be like deep, like quote unquote real country. It was going to be much like Renaissance was no tea, no shade, like a Disney-fied version of Vogue and House. That's what I figured Cowboy Carter was going to be for country. And I do think that that's more or less what it is. But I don't know that Beyonce alone is enough to convert me, even with it being her take on country. Because Renaissance, um, The single from that was Break My Soul, if y'all remember. And to this day, that is a skip track for me. I severely dislike that song. And for what it's worth, I also skip over I'm That Girl, and I always start with Cozy. It's what I prefer. It's what I deserve. But I start with Cozy, and I listen to Renaissance a lot. I listened to that album a lot because I didn't really feel it at first. I was just like, I mean, as someone who's been to balls and loves that kind of music and loves house music, loves deep house music, I was just like, I don't know if this works for me. Like, these are kind of two worlds colliding that I'm in both of them, but I'm not sure that they make sense together. But then it really grew on me. I think the main thing was that it became a gym album for me. So I really loved it as gym music. And then it just became part of my regular rotation in general. And I still listen to that album all the time, very, very frequently. And I love Beyonce's music. I love her as a performer. I'm basic that way. You know, I've paid my hard earned money to see her live in concert several times, as those of y'all who have been riding with me for years know, because I've talked about going to her concerts over the years. I just saw her on the Renaissance World Tour in September in New Orleans. So, I mean, I have nothing to prove to the Hive. It's just interesting because when those first two singles dropped, 27 Carriages and Texas Hold'em, I already was just like, I'm not feeling this, and this is going to be tough because it's very hard to have worthwhile conversations about new work from people like Beyonce because of stans. You know what I mean? If you do anything but ride, you're a hater. Like, if you have anything that isn't working for you that you're not feeling, you're immediately a hater. There's no room to just be like, oh, I like this, but I don't like that. You know what I mean? And you know what? Lightweight, I wish I was a stan. It's probably easier to be brain dead. But anyway, Cowboy Carter dropped on Friday. She seems to have abandoned, you know, the ambush album drop technique, that strategy that she's used in the past with her self-titled album, with Lemonade. Because with Cowboy Carter, there's been tons of buildup and promotion, you know, tons of cosplay Carter, right? Dressing up like a cowgirl for couple months now at this point, I would say. So drops Friday. The anticipation is on zero for me because I'm already just like, oh, I really wasn't feeling those first two songs. I've listened to the album in full about twice now. At the gym yesterday and then again at the gym today. That's when I have time to listen to music, okay? It's 27 tracks, which when I first opened it up in my streaming app, I was just like, what? I was not excited about 27 tracks because I wasn't excited about 16 Carriages. I'm not a ballad gal. I will say, after listening to the album in full, that particular song has grown on me slightly, but I really was not excited for 27 tracks on a country album. I just wasn't. Even if it is like Beyonce's take on country, you know what I mean? But a handful of those tracks, I will say, if you have not listened yet, a handful of them are just spoken interludes, or you could even call them cameos with people like Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton. And actually, I love Dolly Parton, not because she's a country singer and I listen to her music. I love Dolly Parton because she's a drag queen. Deadass. I love Dolly because she's a drag queen. Uh, where did the extra 11 carriages come from? For real, for real, for real. But a lot of those extra 11 carriages are, you know, like they're sort of like the skits they used to do back in the day on hip hop albums, you know, like speaking of Puff, before going back to Cali, that skit of like Puff calling Biggie, you know, yo, Big, wake up, get your girl to write this down or something, you know, I'm going to LAX because I'm getting arrested in Miami. Anyway, so yeah, there's a Jolene cover / reimagining because the tone of Beyonce's Jolene is completely different from Dolly Parton's version of Jolene. And it's cute because Dolly does like a spoken intro before the song starts up, which I like. And then Dolly, I think, reappears at another point in the album as well. The second track on the album is a cover of the song Blackbird. So, you know, there's lots of things in there that may be familiar to you, even if you're not a country fan like I am not. She also features some Black country artists of today, like young Black country artists who've been doing country, which I think is really dope and really important because it does two things. It gives them shine and exposure, and simultaneously acknowledges and debunks this idea that she's the one like doing country for black folks. Like, no, they are. And this is just one of her eras. You know what I mean? Um, I think because the fan base for Beyonce is so rabid, there is a lot of just like saying anything and saying things that are legit ahistoric to give her credit, where she's just like, nah, like these are actual black country artists, and here they are featured on my album so that you guys can get to know them if you actually want to use this as sort of like your gateway drug, so to speak, into black country music. But she also has a lot of these white country artists like Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton, and she even has a duet. Is it a duet? I can't remember if it's technically a duet if they don't sing at the same time. They might actually. I can't remember. But anyway, the song is called Two Most Wanted. And she has a song with Miley Cyrus. They sound very nice together. It's fine. Not really something I'm going to be reaching for, though. You know what I mean? She has a song called Desert Eagle, which is a very famous firearm. It's a very large pistol. Okay. Um, so there's definitely a lot of messaging and tone that she's leaning into here, which is kind of interesting and a little bit different. I mean, it is and it isn't. I feel like she's carrying through a lot of the I'm not the soft-spoken demure chick y'all think I am. Like when it comes time to tussle, I will tussle kind of thing. I think she's trying to continue that through line, and now she's legit got a song called Desert Eagle. Okay. I would say that to me the album is it's like a less dancey, more guitar strummy Beyonce album rather than a country album. She literally raps on it, and there's an opera moment to songs like Two Hands to Heaven and Tyrant, which are toward the end of the album, feel like any old like Beyonce R&B kind of song that you could pick from any of her eras. She has a song called Sweet Honey Buckin', and that's low key a bridge from Renaissance, like that sort of house, Vogue, disco even era to this, because that song, Sweet Honey Buckin', that song is house. That's house with some sweet tea and some hush puppies on the side, because it's still got like a little bit of like a strum worked in, but that song is house for real, for real. So if you hate country but you like Beyonce, you might still enjoy this album. I found that a lot of the songs are giving me more like Tina Turner than country, you know, like that sort of like rock influence than country. Um, Overall, I don't personally see myself reaching for this as an album to play front to back like I have with Lemonade. Like I remember the times in my life when I was listening to Lemonade a ton, and currently I still listen to Renaissance a ton and so forth, you know, just going back through her discography. Um, this album is just not go I don't really see a place for it in my life. Like I don't see myself wanting to listen to this when I'm at the gym or going for a walk. Like if I'm going for a walk, I'm probably listening to Ladysmith Black Mambazo. I'm not even kidding. Like that's that's where I am in my life. I'm watching the sunrise and looking at the trees and listening to Ladysmith Black Mambazo if I'm going for a walk. So I'll probably wind up cherry picking a couple of tracks from this to add to my faves playlist, but like I just it's just not my favorite era of her eras, you know? It might work as like cleaning music. Maybe that'll be when I return to it. It could very well surprise me the way that Renaissance did. Yeah, B. Lachelle. It like so much of it, it's giving me Tina Turner, R.I.P. Um, and SME, I feel like Beyonce is going to do something in that direction, possibly with Act Three, because a lot of people have been speculating ever since we saw that Renaissance was titled Act One. There's been tons of speculation about what Acts Two and Three would be. And when we look at artists of this caliber, the Beyoncés of the world, they all work this way. They always have these eras, which are, you know, basically a phase. You know, it's a phase. I can't help but think that this phase is maybe trying yet another tactic to get a seat at the table of the Grammys. That, in my opinion, she should have been realized as a raggedy ass table. But lest we forget, her husband was just dry begging on her behalf at the Grammys weeks ago, talking about like, how is it that she's never won Artist of the Year? And I'm like, she's bigger than the whack ass Grammys. Like, why are you guys even there? Y'all shouldn't even be like legitimizing the Grammys by attending. What are we still doing here? But then I have to remember who this is. I enjoy Beyonce as an artist and as a performer, but as far as like the politics go, like I have to separate those things because it seems to me that that is still very much a goal to win Artist of the Year by hook or by crook. And, if that means getting the cosign from the Willie Nelsons and Dolly Partons of the white world to try to ingratiate herself, maybe that's like what the new strategy is. I don't know, child. But I just don't feel, yeah, exactly. Janet, Michael, Madonna, all these artists, they have different eras. They all do, Lady Gaga, they all do this. So, yeah. Um, I do think that it's a sound, cohesive album. It's just not, gonna be my favorite. And that's fine, you know? I'm not gonna be like pissed off about it. Just don't tell the hive because they cannot handle anyone having anything to say about Beyonce unless it's relentless praise. Yeah. I feel like, the experimentation in the eras will continue. Who knows what could be next? I'm always excited to see what's next, and hopefully I'll love it. Hopefully. Um yeah, Momi. I think you're right that the Carters have an issue with not being allowed and accepted in the spaces after all they've achieved. They can't believe they are still rejected. Yeah, girl, but I guess my response to that kind of thing is different because I'm like, why are you still dry begging to be accepted in spaces that are not valid? The Grammys are not valid. I realized that as a preteen. I don't think I've watched the Grammys since I was like 11 years old because I was just like, okay, this ain't it. So it's mystifying to me why someone, when you're Beyonce, why do you care about the Grammys? You're bigger than the Grammys. Who cares? But, what can I say? I don't I don't know. I don't know what the goal is there, to be honest. All right. So there's also this that came I believe on Beyonce Day, Friday. Lizzo dropped this on her stories. I'm getting tired of putting up with being dragged by everyone in my life and on the internet. All I want is to make music and make people happy. Excuse me. And help the world be a little better than how I found it. Big agree. That's how I feel. Well, not the making music part, but leave the world a little bit better than I found it is basically like what I'm attempting to do every day. But I'm starting to feel like the world doesn't want me in it. I'm constantly up against lies being told about me for clout and views, being the butt of the joke every single time because of how I look. My character being picked apart by people who don't know me and disrespecting my name. I didn't sign up for this ish. I quit. Now, um, what nobody think about Lizzo? Am I tripping? Like, this to me feels like it came out of nowhere. But I also like don't follow Lizzo because it's just not my thing. I've spoken about Lizzo before when she had her entire ass out and she was twerking at a Lakers game. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Oh, speaking of, one thing where that really did make me cringe on the Beyonce album is in the first track, the look a there, look a there. I was just like, not this, Beyonce. Don't do that. Look a there, look a there. That's not your voice. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because there are people who sound like that and it ain't you. Don't do that. Anyway, Lizzo. Lizzo needs to deactivate social media. Lizzo needs to turn off comments. Lizzo needs to take a social media cleanse, something like this. I haven't really thought about Lizzo since those allegations came out a few months ago. But I mean, I don't really know what she's experiencing on her platforms, but to me, this just felt kind of out of nowhere. So I don't know if there was something that provoked this, but I'm sure that she gets undue criticism because of her size. I just, I don't know, child. Log off, you know? Like it's I'm not a public figure or anything, but I get my share of people just saying crazy things to me, but I don't even see most of it. I really don't. My DMs are closed, you know? I check responses in the comments to my videos up to a point, and then I'm out because I have to protect my peace. So if you're going to, put out work of any sort with public consumption wherein direct feedback is possible, you have to put up certain, and this is an overused word, but you have to put up certain, what what is the word I'm actually looking for? I started to say walls, but boundaries is the word I'm looking for. You have to put up certain boundaries to protect your peace. And it seems like maybe she has not been doing that. So that felt rather unprovoked. And you honestly, like, these kinds of tantrums are so common, I never take them seriously. She'll be back in a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like, she's not really going to quit her career and all that because, like, I'm sure she can't help but create, like she's a musician, she's going to continue to make music. But yeah, whatever she's going through, I think she just needs to log off. Um as far as I know, the body positivity movement turned their backs on her after she started losing weight. She was their hero, and now they're dragging her. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I years ago did a video kind of bemoaning the turn that the so-called body positivity movement has taken, and this doesn't surprise me at all. Um, Not wanting to be overweight to a point that it affects your health deleteriously is fat phobic, then count me in as fat phobic because I want to be healthy and I want to be able to be mobile. So, oh well. Um, Next up, this is kind of a sharp turn, but there's this account I love on Instagram called Diet Prada. And they were just talking about how luxury fashion brands have lost their minds. And I thought this was really interesting because I'm going to be wrapping up my Soft Life series soon, and how a lot of these pathetic frauds, aka influencers, basically have equated soft life with having expensive things. But there's such a self drag in that because the way a lot of these brands work, and I was watching a YouTuber who did a video on this. It was like a video essay, but it was really interesting because he had little sort of like, I guess, sketches and like characters and things where he would act out certain scenarios where with brands like Hermes, for example, you have to spend a certain amount of money with them to even become eligible to buy things like such as a Birkin. So you can't just have the money to buy the Birkin. You have to have money to buy a bunch of BS that you probably don't want to then be put on a list for one of their sales associates to be able to be like, okay, you're in. I got you a Birkin, not in the color you wanted, but this is it. Take it or leave it. This is how this works, okay? So I feel like people who succumb to that kind of greed deserve what they get. Get your, get your seafoam colored Birkin that you didn't even want, but you wanted to stunt on people because you want them to know that they're broker than you. Fine. Good. You deserve it. So, okay. So Diet Prada put this up. Is luxury fashion in the midst of a rude awakening? Once driven by creativity and desire, top luxury brands have jacked their prices to new heights while dialing down the design. Is it working? The answer is no. Just look at some of the price tags on this first image. A $26,000 dress. I mean, the dress is all right. Like, I feel like I could style that, but people don't make that much money in a year. There's people who don't make that much in a year. Is that the flex to wear some rags that cost 26 bands. Okay, cool. Getting into the little write up underneath, luxury fashion has always come with high price tags, but lately they're skyrocketing while design nosedives into the abyss of homogenization. Every brand is making the same thing, the only major difference being the logo. For example, the Rose Margot, a veritable it bag, has a Prada lookalike that's curiously priced just $90 cheaper. Both will set you back just over 5K. Oh, my sweetie pie, you sent me a super chat. I have to try to find it. Let me see. Where is it? Thank you, my sweetie pie. Just to thank you for a space to get updates on topics and good conversation in the chat. Much love to all. Thank you, my sweetie pie. Love you too. So, brands are blaming steep increases on inflation and rising costs, which is a lie. Every brand has posted record profits ever since this inflation surge that we've been suffering to, where most of us are out here saving up for groceries. All these brands are posting record profits. So it's not an issue of supply. The whole thing is invented and it's price gouging. Let's continue. Everyone is clamoring to be the next Hermes or Chanel, with the latter even chasing the former's coattails. Gucci bet big on Sabato de Sarno, wiping the slate clean with Zara-esque staples. But Kering's Q1 forecast anticipates a 20% drop in revenue. Eek. Even Hermes, who sits atop the luxury throne, looks like they're starting to lose touch with reality. You don't say. Hermes's purported quota system makes their most coveted bags extremely difficult to snag. This is what I was talking about. Even for fans with a findom kink. Or findom? Findom kink. I don't know what that word is. That's a new word to me, findom. Even though I've read this caption before, I don't remember that. One item currently raising eyebrows on Hermes.com is a $10,400 wicker purse offered in color random. That's right, buyers don't get to pick what they get. And thank you for the super chat, Brazen Bewilderments. Just so y'all know, super chats do get split with YouTube by about half. So they take, I believe, 45% of super chats, but they are still appreciated nonetheless. That's right, you don't get to pick your own color when you're dropping 10.5 bands on a wicker basket that probably looks a lot like something that you would see at HomeGoods. The description specifies the patterns and the colors of your product will be a surprise. The wealthy can indulge in the blind box trend too. How fun. Rich people, they're just like us. Chimena Kamali's lauded Chloe debut is bringing boho back, but one caramel chiffon dress is nearly opening price point for couture at 26K. That was the schmata rags on that first slide I showed you guys. Never mind Laurel Piana's 12K sweater made with unpaid Peruvian labor, or a $2,600 Gucci skirt made with less than a yard of fabric. Per the New York Times, Bernstein analyst Luca Solca stated that the top 5% of luxury clients are now responsible for over 40% of luxury sales. Clearly, these people have entirely too much money. Eat the rich. Brands are rolling the dice on higher prices, targeting a smaller audience with deeper pockets. But are they buying? Based on Citi credit card data, U.S. luxury sales have steadily declined since reaching a post-pandemic high, because everybody's broke. Remember, we're saving up for groceries and the light bill. With costs soaring globally, middle-class aspirational shoppers, quote unquote, who once saved to splurge on select luxury pieces are getting left in the dust. A veneer of exclusivity has always been a pillar of luxury, but now it actually seems reserved for the 1%. Penny for your thoughts. Most of us can't afford that penny, but nonetheless. So let's take a closer look at some of these items on the slides. So this is that first bag that they were talking about, where the row has one, and then for 90 bucks less, you can get an almost identical bag from Prada. Everybody's so creative, right, Dragon? Good God. Then we have, lost my place. Here we go. This is that wicker basket. Can't pick your color. Let it be a surprise. Aw, isn't that nice? That looks like that's worth 10 grand. I'm sorry, almost 10.5. That seems fair. That seems fair. This is the Gucci Skort, less than a yard of fabric, $2,600. I mean, that's giving me Forever 21. That's giving me Forever 21. Maybe Madewell. If they're like, if I could feel the material, I might think it was Madewell. The brand, not that it was made well. Madewell, the brand. Can you tell which fur coat is the $9,200 Saint Laurent one? I think I had guessed lower left, if I remember correctly, the first time I looked at it. None of those look like they should be $9,200 though. Because again, faux fur, operative descriptor, faux. Okay? It was this one. The ugliest one, actually. Because once again, lower left is kind of cute. Upper left is actually kind of cute. But no, it's the ugliest one. That's $9,200. Faux fur. 92% mode acrylic. 8% polyester. Faux fur. These rich people deserve what they get. Let them walk around with their whack-ass Birkins and whatever that they probably paid, I don't even know how much before to get the opportunity to buy them. Ever since I watched that guy's video and realized that's how that works, I was so appalled. I mean, pick a loafer, any loafer. The lowest priced one is $790. The worst is $1,250. That's rent. I mean, in some cities, $790 is rent, actually. But $1,250 for a loafer. None of these even look that good. I might fuck with a couple of them, but not for the price. Just give me the dupe, child. Crazy. Dracaris, you guessed right because you guessed the ugliest. When in doubt, right? When in doubt. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting, especially because I'm preparing that third and final video in the Soft Life Frauds series. That just really spoke to me. I thought that was so interesting. Now, next up, as y'all have probably noticed, a lot of my information I get through Instagram because I follow a lot of political accounts and, you know, even Diet Prada, which is a fashion account. Like, I feel like I get a lot of news and just interesting things from there. So I wanted to share this with you guys. This is a bit of a public service announcement. But Meta, aka the company that runs both Facebook and therefore Instagram, because Facebook purchased Instagram many years ago, their censorship is off the chain for obvious reasons. Okay, their censorship has escalated for obvious reasons. And they have added a new feature, they would probably call it a new product update, to basically censor even more. But the default setting, unless you've already changed it, is to not see the so-called political content that you might have actually opted into by following the people you follow. So this is just a little PSA to let you know how to fix that. You want to go to the little, it's called, I only know this because my best friend is an engineer, but you want to click the hamburger, which is the little 3-line thing. When you go into whatever website or app and you want to change your settings, then you go down to what you see in your settings, click on content preferences, then click on political content, and you have to change it to don't limit, because the default will be on limit, meaning you're not going to see updates that they decide are political in nature. It's up to them to decide what you don't want to see unless you don't change your settings. And it's still going to be censorship because shadow bans are very real. Not to mention, ever since they got rid of the whole chronological feed, like, remember that? Remember when Instagram was just chronological? There have been people who I haven't seen posts from in years, and I just assume that they stopped posting. And then I'll think of them, and they've been posting the whole time, and Instagram just ain't been showing me. If I were smart, I would just stop using it. But clearly, I have an issue. Now, speaking of censorship, another public service announcement. This is an account that I love. Definitely shadow banned. They've had to create multiple accounts. They've gotten multiple warnings and things from Instagram Buddyhead. But FYI, if you watch certain YouTube videos, investigators demanded your data from Google, and Google be snitching. Just so you know. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I was being excessively careful with things I would say and don't say, and that trend will continue because of the platform that we are on right now. So just so you know. And last but not least, last thing I want to talk about, I had planned to get on here for half an hour. Now we're coming up on an hour, so I do want to wrap this up. I have been seeing a lot of discussion about DEI, diversity and equity, inclusivity, or inclusion, depending on the context it's being used in, especially after some recent news events. So anyway, long story short, MAGA, like they do with many things, has taken that to be racist, because that's what they do. MAGAs are labeling DEI as didn't earn it. And I just love this man's clapback. Here's what he says. Which is wild because in reality, generating historic wealth through 2 billion acres of stolen land from Native Americans, enslaving Black people for 300 years, banning Asian immigration until 1965, and banning women from financial access till 1974, all without paying a single red cent in reparations or restitution, is the living, breathing example of not earning it. And that is how you clear a bitch. So I just wanted to share that with you all because, yeah, it's rough in these streets. It's rough in these streets as a content creator who wants to talk about things honestly, who wants to talk about things that are not just trying to sell you products and that are people are dying, Kim. Like, if you actually want to talk about things of substance, it is very easy to silence us. They have entire algorithms to do this. My channel hasn't grown in subscribers in several years now for this reason. We got another super chat. Thank you again, Brazen Bewilderment. Wish I had money to be a part of your Patreon. Seeing you on YouTube keeps spilling on expatting. Oh yes, the expatriation. The problem is money. It is becoming so difficult just to survive where I'm at that being able to save for my expatriating nest egg has become like back-burnered, but the plan is in place. It's just a question of getting the money right. I'm considering it with this being an election year with these dinos. Yeah, we're it's not looking good, y'all. There has been a reigniting in the sense of urgency to get out of here. It's just the pickle of being between a rock and a hard place financially because, I'm not out here wasting money trying to ingratiate myself to a Birkin sales rep so that I can get a bag that I don't want in a color that I don't want. Like, I'm just trying to survive out here. And it's been, especially with the writer's strike last year, as some of y'all know, I work in show business. And last year was a bad year with the strikes. And things have not really restored even since that. So it's been very challenging. It's been very challenging. The dilemma, honestly, is becoming, do I just leave with what I have and just make it work because my cost of living will go down? But I also don't want to preclude myself from having work opportunities that arise that will contribute to my nest egg because I do have a couple irons in the fire. And I'm like, well, I need to see if these pan out. So, yeah. Enough of that. Aqualoo, I have an entire playlist called Project Exodus on that. So everything that I have spoken about with regard to expatriating is there, and it is free, and it will always be free. None of that stuff is on Patreon. It has always been here on YouTube. It's ugly AF, but it's a Birkin. I've got more money than you, and that's what matters. Hashtag soft life. Ooh, child. I'm thinking I'm gonna get that out sooner than later. There's a couple other videos that I had ideas for that I want to get to. but maybe I'll pull that up to the front. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, thanks y'all for hanging out with me on this Sunday night. I'm going to be doing a movie night over with my patrons and locals soon. We're going to watch Machete starring Danny Trejo. So yeah, I almost did it today, you know, Machete Easter classic. But I was just like, no, I don't want to seem like I'm intentionally like making fun of the day or something. So probably this coming week, it's going to be a movie night and we're going to watch Machete starring Danny Trejo because the main thing with our movie nights over on my platforms is it's about having a good time. We love to kiki. We like to chime in with like jokes and, you know, roasts or like just have snacks, just have adult beverages, whatever the case. So if you're interested, all the links are in the D box. And once again, there is that coupon code for locals that will be good for a couple more hours. It's what, 9:26 on the East Coast. So you guys got like 2.5 hours or something to use that code FLUTE. Yeah, Ajama. Oops, picked the wrong one. But hey, that's your favorite Easter movie. Ajama, just don't fall asleep. Once I post the Zoom link, don't take a nap. All right, I love y'all. We do have a stupid ass time over there. We really do. We have a lot of fun. I love it. And it's been a minute since we had a movie night, so we're overdue. And I wanted to pick something, you know, again, an Easter classic, but just something that would be fun. So Machete is on deck for our next movie night. All right, y'all. Make sure y'all stay safe, stay dangerous. Thank you so much for kikiing with me, talking about Diddy. I'm probably going to have to be back on live again as the things unfold throughout this week because Lord only knows. We still don't even know what the actual charges are. We just know it's related to zest trafficking. And that alone is like but it tracks. It tracks with everything we already know. All right. Bye, y'all. I love you for watching, and I'll see you soon.